In today's podcast, we are going to explore how a false identity can create pressure in the body. If you've been carrying beliefs about yourself that aren't true, that misalignment may be one of the hidden sources of your ongoing stress. First of all, let's define identity within the context of this podcast. When I say identity, I'm talking about the beliefs you hold about yourself, what you think you're worth, what you believe you deserve, what you think you have to do to be accepted, and the story you tell yourself about who you are. If you think these beliefs are fixed, I want to gently challenge that idea. If the environment you grew up in had been different, would your interpretation of yourself also be different? The answer is very likely yes. Let's consider two young boys. One grows up with a loving, patient, and emotionally available mother. He learns that women can be trusted, that relationships can be safe, and that he is worthy of love. The other grows up with a mother who is troubled, emotionally unavailable, or highly critical. Over time, he begins to believe that women can't be trusted, that people eventually abandon you, or even that he isn't worthy of being loved. Those beliefs don't just shape how he sees women, they also shape how he sees himself. Now imagine we swap their childhood experiences. Would their perspectives likely change? Very likely. That tells us something important. Many of the beliefs we carry about ourselves are learned. They are shaped by our experiences, our relationships, and the environments that formed us. The encouraging news is that what was learned can also be unlearned. We are not imprisoned by our past, and we don't have to continue living from beliefs that no longer serve us. As we begin to recognize unhealthy patterns and replace them with positive perspectives, our decisions start to change. We set better boundaries. We stop chasing approval. We become less driven by shame and fear. We respond to life with greater confidence and peace. This matters because our identity doesn't just influence our thoughts, it influences our physiology. The way we see ourselves affects the choices we make, the relationships we stay in, the pressure we place on ourselves, and how often our nervous system feels under threat. When we live from fear and shame or the constant need to prove ourselves, the body often carries that burden as chronic stress. So, as we go through the rest of this podcast, I want to invite you to listen with curiosity rather than judgment. If you recognize yourself in some of these patterns, don't see them as labels or weaknesses. See them as invitations. Awareness is often the first step toward healing, because once you can see the pattern, you can begin to change it. So let's make this practical. How does a false identity actually create pressure in the body? Let's say you carry the belief, I'm only valuable when I'm useful. You may not even realize you believe it, but watch what happens. You struggle to say no because you don't want to disappoint people. You take on more than you can manage. You answer messages when you should be resting. You keep giving even when you're running on empty. And when you finally stop, you don't feel peace. You feel guilty. Now ask yourself this question. What is my body experiencing while I'm living like this? Your shoulders tense up. Your jaw's tightened. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your heart beats a little faster. You lie awake thinking about tomorrow's responsibilities. Your mind never truly switches off. It believes your value comes from what you do. The pressure didn't begin with your workload. It began with a belief. Now, what if you believe you're not good enough? Every mistake feels bigger than it really is. You overthink conversations. You compare yourself with other people. You replay criticism over and over in your mind. You work harder not because you love what you do, but because you're trying to prove that you matter. Again, ask yourself, what is your body experiencing? Your nervous system doesn't know you're trying to prove your worth. It simply experiences constant pressure. It received the message that you're never quite safe, never quite enough, and never able to rest. Or maybe your identity was shaped by rejection. Now you avoid difficult conversations because you fear people leaving you. You tolerate unhealthy relationships because being alone feels more frightening than being mistreated. You keep the peace at your own expense. Once again, your body carries the burden. Do you see the pattern? The body isn't responding only to what happens around you. It's responding to the story you believe about yourself. That's why two people can experience the same situation and respond so differently. One receives criticism and sees an opportunity to grow. The other receives the same criticism and feels worthless. One can say no without guilt. The other feels anxious for days. The situation is the same. The identity they're living from is different. This is why I believe that one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is a healthy identity. Because when you no longer have to prove your worth, earn your value, or fight for your acceptance, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes quieter, your body begins to feel safer. You make healthier decisions. You establish healthier boundaries. You learn to rest without guilt. You stop living in survival mode and begin living from a place of peace. The body often follows where the mind believes it is safe to go. This is why it's often said, the health of the body starts with the mind. So, a misaligned identity doesn't just affect how we think, it affects how we feel, how we live, how we relate to others, and ultimately, how our body functions. I've seen it over and over again. One of the greatest sources of stress is the disconnection between who we truly are and who we've learned to become. That disconnect creates tension within us. We may appear successful on the outside, yet inwardly, we're exhausted because we're trying to sustain an identity that was built on shame, rejection, performance, or the need for approval. The Bible says, Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Our inner world shapes our outer world. As our minds are renewed and we begin to love from truth rather than from old wounds, we create conditions for greater peace, not only in the mind, but throughout the whole body as well. If you want to improve the health of your mind and body, become the person you were created to be, not the person your fears, wounds, or past experience convince you that you are. In prolonged stress, the mind pays a price first, but the body also keeps the score. The body carries the burden of the story that the mind believes. When the brain continually perceives threat, whether the threat is external, like you're in a toxic relationship, or comes from our own inner beliefs, it activates the body's stress response. We've been hearing a lot about the fight or flight responses lately, so I'm not going to go into too much of that now. If this state becomes our norm, the nervous system has fewer opportunities to rest, repair, and restore. And over time, this can contribute to poor sleep, fatigue, muscle tension, digestive problems, weakened immunity, headaches, and so on, high blood pressure. While many factors influence health, the way we see ourselves can become an overlooked source of ongoing strain that affects our physical well-being. So in conclusion, healing involves examining the beliefs we carry about ourselves and the world around us. As our identity becomes healthier and more aligned with truth, how we show up in the world changes. This doesn't remove every stressor, of course, but it changes how we respond to them, allowing both the mind and body to function with greater calm, clarity, and ease. If you've benefited from this podcast, like and subscribe. If you would like holistic well-being advisory, message me. The link is in the description. Until then, catch you on the next podcast.